Hi, everybody. How we doing tonight? All right. That's great. I did not expect that from Coeur d'Alene. Is this the whole town? Very nice. You guys can look over and be like, hey, Jim, I see you. Yeah, very nice. That's my neighbor. No, I'm good. I am so excited. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Right? We have a good New Year. We have a good Christmas. Yeah? Yeah, good. I had a weird Christmas. I have two daughters. One is 4 and one is 8, and they're completely different kids. So what they ask for, each of them doesn't make a lot of sense, but in their own way. Like, for example, I asked my 8-year-old first. I asked my 8-year-old what she wanted for Christmas, and she said, I want a home security system. And I was like, that's kind of weird. That's expensive. That is an expensive present. Why do you want that? She goes, because I think you guys are taking my stuff. And I was like, that's ridiculous. And I turned to my wife, I'm like, we got to stop taking her stuff. So then we settled on cameras. I was like, those are really expensive. We should just get you some cameras. And now we had to explain to everybody why we have cameras in our daughter's room. It's weird. And so then I go ask my younger daughter. She's 4. I said, what do you want for Christmas? And she said, I want a trap door. And I was like, what do you mean? That's a weird gift. She's like, oh, here's what I mean. I want in my bedroom, I want a door in the floor that opens up, and then I can crawl inside it and sleep. And I was like, we are not getting you that. That sounds like Santa won't be coming down the chimney, but it'll be CPS coming down the chimney if we get you that present. So there was no compromise on that one. We also started a new tradition, Christmas at my house. The kids don't like it, but I do, so it's going to stay. Does anybody know what unboxing is here in the theater? We don't know what unboxing is? A few people. I'll explain it to you other people who don't have the internet. Unboxing is, it's usually a kid who's sitting, it's a YouTube video. A kid will sit down and they'll put a box in front of him and he'll open the box and he'll take something out, and that's the end of the video. Millions of children watch other children open boxes, and a lot of the time it already says what's on the box in the box. And I saw my daughter watching one of these videos on an iPad, and I knocked it out of her hand. I said, what are you doing? She's like, I'm watching an unboxing video. I'm like, why would you do that? She goes, because, Dad, it's like Christmas every day of the year. And I said, really? This is an opportunity to change Christmas. So this year, they woke up to my wife holding out an iPad. And that iPad was connected to my phone's camera so they could watch me open all of their Christmas presents. They learned a lesson. That was their present this year. It was great. That's good. Thank you. I don't mean to brag, but yes, I can still fit into kid-size clothes. So that's what you're looking at right now. Thank you. Women are usually like, that's great, they're half off. Men are like, I don't care what the discount is, you shouldn't tell that to anybody. It's an embarrassing thing to admit to people. It's an embarrassing thing to admit to your wife, who you've been married to for 5 years. But I had to do it because she kept buying me the wrong size Christmas presents. So this year I finally sat her down. And I said, listen, you're shopping in the wrong section. You are shopping at Gap. You should be shopping at Baby Gap. And then in her female brain, she's thinking, oh, I need to say something to make him feel better. So she thought about it, and this is what she came up with. She goes, oh, the only reason you still fit into those sizes is because of all the childhood obesity nowadays. I was like, that's the best you got? I pour my heart out to you. I tell you something very personal, very sensitive, and you call me a fat kid for the rest of my life. She just goes, well, if the shirt fits, and just walked away. It's fantastic. I love talking about my height on stage. It's one of the first things people notice. So I get a lot of people who talk to me after the show, come up and talk to me to tell me that I'm not that short. And by a lot of people, I mean dudes who are the exact same height as me. They always come up to find me in a crowd, which is hard to do if you're not that tall. And they always come up to me with the exact same energy every single time. They're like, hey, you know you're not that short. And I'm like, yes, we are. Yes, we are. I don't know what to tell you, man. You got to get some self-reflection in your life. You need to go home. You need to go to the bathroom. You need to look at yourself in the mirror. If you can see over the sink, that is a problem for us. Do we know, people that like to think that I have a Napoleon complex if I'm not, because of my height. Do we know what a Napoleon complex is here? Good, because I was in Spokane and they had no idea. I spent 5 minutes trying to explain to them that Napoleon complex was not a rapper. It was weird. All right, for those of you from Spokane, I'll tell you. A Napoleon complex is something that tall people made up because they decided that it must be so terrible to be short that you have to try to take over the world. And I'm here to tell you I don't have a Napoleon complex. I don't. I have what is called a David Spade complex. If you don't know what that is where you are not tall enough to be likable, but you're not short enough to be adorable. It's about a foot in between. It's a real large scale. We have parents here tonight, right? We got parents? Okay. Some tired laughs, or some tired claps. That's good. Do we have good parents? Some of you didn't even clap to be parents first. You can't take the credit afterward. Not how that works. I'd like to think that I'm a good parent. My kids are outside in the car. They're doing good. No, I think I'm an old school parent. Do we have those parents? Do we have old school parents? Sometimes I like it. Some of you are like, yes. Others are like, I want to wait to see where he's going with this. Because I get it. There's a fine line between old school parenting and felony. I understand. And so I'll explain to you what old school parent means to me. Old school parenting means to me that if I am sick, I will cough on my kids just to slow them down. That's right. In my house, if daddy's going through something, we're all going through something. That's how it goes. My wife, also an old school parent. We're a really good match. We found each other. We're perfect together. And I found that out when we were pregnant with our first kid. And we were walking around Seattle saying the things that we hoped for our first kid. And I said the thing that everyone says. I said, I just hope that our daughter is healthy, right? What a normal person would say. My wife did not say that. I said, I just hope that she's healthy. And my wife looked at me and goes, oh, I just hope that she's cool. I was like, cool, what do you mean? She's like, like us. And I'm like, we are not cool. I don't know who has been lying to you, but I wear socks that go up to my knees. And you correct other people's grammar. We are not cool. She goes, other people's is redundant. And I'm like, do you see the problem here? These kids don't have a chance. I know for a fact that I'm an old school parent, though. I got the final piece of information just a few weeks ago. And all I can say is that I like to watch my kids struggle. That's how I know. And it's not like I'm a monster or anything. It's not like I like to watch them struggle breathing. It's not like that. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example of what it's like. My youngest is 4, like I said. It was time for dessert. And she has a sucker for dessert. And suckers have cellophane wrappers. And she has 4-year-old fingers. And 4-year-old fingers are not strong enough to open cellophane wrappers. So she has to summon all of her strength to try to get this thing open. She has to put it in her stomach. She's twisting it and doing a whole body thing and breathing hard and giving herself a pep talk. She's like, oh, I almost got it. almost got it. I don't got it. I don't got it. She sounds like she's playing tennis. You know what I mean? She's like, just grunting. And finally, I just look across the room at her, and I'm just thinking to myself, I could watch her do this all day. You know what I mean? Like, I even walked over to the room and, like, got down on her level. I got her high level, and she's got it in her stomach, and she's working on it. She finally looks up at me. She's like, can you help me out? And I'm like, I think you almost got it. I think you should keep going. She's like, fine. She keeps going. She puts it back in her stomach, and she's grunting. And finally, after a few minutes later, she's like, I got it, Dad. I got it. I was like, yes, you got it. But it's bedtime now, so. That one's mine. That's my dessert. I love that joke because even though it's true, what I really like about it is even the biggest guy, the biggest, toughest dads are like, they're with me and tell that, and they're like, oh, but the moms are like, you're right. I'm the same way. Like, they're all with me. It's fantastic. I do think I'm a good parent. I do. Until one of my kids talks and completely shatters that illusion. Somehow your kids know exactly the right thing to say in any moment to make you realize you're not as good of a parent as you think you are. And I'll give you an example. We were at an 8-year-old's birthday party for my oldest daughter. It's one of her friends. And those of you who have kids know that when you're at a birthday party for a kid, all the parents stay away from the kids because no one wants to be responsible for anybody else's kid. And so we're all hanging out, the parents, and my 8-year-old walks up to me and yells loud enough so the entire party can hear. She goes, Dad, you know it's okay to hate some people. It's like, really? You are 8 years old. You know like 8 people. We're all here. Which one of us is it? She's like, no, Dad, I hate monsters. And I was like, okay, I get it. That's fine. She's like, and stepsisters. I was like, you don't have any stepsisters. She's like, I know, I hate stepmothers too, and just disappeared. That was the conversation she thought we should have in front of like 60 people. And I don't know what to do with that. I want to blame Disney. But I can't because kids don't do context. So all I can think to do is keep her away from non-traditional families. Because we have no idea what she's going to say. She likes to tell me that I'm dying a lot, for example, which after talking to other parents, I realize that is not normal. But she does, and she's really good at it. She sneaks it in when I don't know. That's the hardest part. Is she knows when I'm not thinking about it, and she just jabs me. I was driving her to school one day, and she asked me a question. She goes, Dad, what do crabs eat? And I said, dead stuff at the bottom of the ocean, right? She's like, you mean like dead fish? I was like, yes. She's like, do you mean like dead sharks? I was like, sure. She's like, do you mean like dead people? And I was like, that is more of an East Coast problem. I said specifically more a New York, New Jersey problem. There's a lot of TV shows about it. I'll introduce you to it later. A lot of SVUs. She stopped listening to me. She goes, well, am I going to die? And I said, yes, you are going to die, little 8-year-old. But I wouldn't worry about it because it is not going to be for a very long time. And that is when she smiled at me and she goes, you're going to be dead a lot sooner. I was like, oh, really? She's like, oh, yeah. I was like, thanks for letting me know. She's like, you should have already known that. And she's right. I get it. So I drop her off at school. I pick her back up. She asked me another question. She goes, Dad, am I going to have a baby? And it just got real in that car with that 8-year-old. I had to pull the car all the way to the side of the road. Put it at a complete stop. So I could turn around, look her dead in her car seat, and say, listen, your mom drives you to school too. Save some of these questions for her. I said, I don't know if you're going to have a baby. It's your decision. It's your body. And she thought about it. She goes, okay, you know what? I'm going to think about it. And I am going to let you know if I want to have a baby and when. And I was like, perfect. I bet there's a lot of dads out there that wish they had that. But then she's like, actually, I think I might let mommy know because you might be dead by then. I was like, you know what? I kind of hope I am. So how about that? I should tell you that my oldest is gifted. She is, and I'm not lying to you. Like 90% of the people who tell you their kids are gifted, just because your kid is smarter than you, does not make them gifted. But mine is. She's actually gifted. She's been tested. They should stamp it on her forehead so you can tell why she's being so mean to you. And I can tell you how you can tell the difference between people who have the gifted kid, parents who have a gifted kid, and parents who think they have a gifted kid. There's a big difference. If you talk to anybody who thinks that, any parent who thinks they have a gifted kid, they cannot wait to tell you what has come out of that kid anywhere on their body. But if you talk to the parents of a truly gifted kid, they're just happy to be talking to anybody other than that kid. They're tired. They're angry, and they are sick of losing every negotiation. I'll tell you a story what it's like, a couple stories what it's like living with a truly gifted kid. She's always a couple of steps ahead of me. This summer, in fact, she came up to me. She comes running up to me, and she goes, Dad, does Santa Claus really give bad kids coal for Christmas in their stocking? And I was like, yes, he does. She's like, am I going to get coal? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. And she's like, could that change? And I said, yes, it could change. And she said, good, because I really want to start a fire. Do you see what I mean? She had a plan. And now I'm boxed in. She hates that I do stand-up comedy, too. She absolutely hates it. She doesn't really know what it is, and it's partially my fault because I have given her the wrong impression because all I do is show her Richard Pryor videos. So it's a little different. But what she's not, it's understandable. Her grievance is completely understandable. What is not understandable is why she's got to be so passive-aggressive about it. Like when she introduces me to her little 8-year-old pals, she says, this is my dad. He tries to be funny. And it never fails. One of her little 8-year-old pals, different one every time, goes, my dad is funny. And at this point, I'm torn. Because half of me wants to just shut that kid down. Be like, you know what? I met your dad. Not funny. But if I'm being honest, the other half of me wants to trade kids. As wrong as that kid is, at least that kid is loyal. My kid is a critic. She's a mean critic, too, not just to me. I wish it was just me, but it's not just me. It's to my wife, too. One time she came crying into our house. My daughter, not my wife. She came crying into our house up to my wife, and my wife was like, why are you crying? She's like, because, Mommy, I feel ugly. My wife was like, you're not ugly. Why would you say that? She goes, because, Mommy, I'm not wearing a dress. My wife goes, Mommy never wears dresses. She's like, yeah, I know. You get it? She is cold-blooded, this kid. She saw me practicing my act downstairs one time and in our basement, and at first she was really happy to see me, and then she kind of put together what was going on. She walked all the way across our basement so she could look at me and go, I don't want any of this, and then walked out. To this day, she is my only walkout. Before I drove all the way over here from Seattle this afternoon, she as I was walking out the door, she walked up to me and she goes, Daddy, how come you spend all your time with these strangers and not with me? I know, right? It was kind of a gut check moment. So what was I going to do? I had to be a good parent. I had to set a good example. I had to tell her the truth. So I sat her down and I said, listen, baby girl, I spend all my time with these strangers because these strangers laugh at my jokes. And then I looked deep into her eyes and I said, if you want daddy to come home this weekend, you better get a sense of humor. And we'll see. That is the third time we've had this conversation. And you know what they say, strike three, you're an orphan. So I'll say one more before it'll be time to bring out your headliner. Thank you all for coming tonight. I hope you have a great time. And I will be selling a shirt in the lobby after the show, and I'm going to explain to you how this shirt came about, because otherwise it's a little weird. So I'm in a weird place in comedy now because it's starting to become a business, and it's not why I got into it in the first place, but now it is. So here we go. I told my wife I needed to get a tagline because all these comedians have taglines, right? Like Jerry Seinfeld has "What's the Deal With," and Larry the Cable Guy has "Get Her Done," and all that. So I asked my wife, I said, you've seen my comedy. What is a short thing that you would say that describes me and describes my comedy perfectly? And she didn't even skip a beat. She goes, I know. I was like, what is it? She goes, not overly masculine. And I was like, that came really fast. I mean, but I'm from Seattle, so I was like, great. That's great, because like there's a lot of toxic masculinity in Seattle. She's like, yeah, and you're just not that masculine. And I was like, yeah, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, and because of toxic masculinity. And she's like, and you don't have to worry about that at all. And I'm like, are you trying to tell me something? And so here's the thing. I now have a shirt. I'm starting a movement that is the not overly masculine movement. And let me tell you something, everybody, especially the gentlemen out there. These shirts are really soft. They are so soft, they'll just make you want to eat some quinoa and some kale and maybe even have a pumpkin spice latte. I will be selling them at the back after the show. Thank you very much. My name is Travis Shear. I hope you have a great time tonight, and I will hopefully see you later.